welcome. My name is Caesar Plays. As you can tell from the title, this is the Spider-Man Brand New Day spoiler talk. So if you haven't watched the movie, get out. I have a spoiler-free video in my channel to go check it out. It should be the one uploaded before this one or after this one. I don't know the order that's gonna go in, but uh, yeah, I'm gonna talk about a lot. I don't know how long this video is going to be, so if you look at the timeline and you see that it's 40 minutes long, I do apologize beforehand. There's a lot I would love to talk about this video. I'm not gonna try to keep it short though. I have a lot of stuff to do, but I have the Spidey shirts ready. I did buy the Spider-Man popcorn bucket. It's actually pretty large, the size of my head, basically. I made that joke in the other video too. Also made an Al Snow joke for you wrestling fans. But yeah, no, let's talk about this. It's yeah, no, it's great. So damn, holy crap! Like I'm gonna curse a lot in this video. I don't care if I can monetize it, but it's great. Let's start off. Let's talk about this movie. Come on, let's talk. Let's talk. I'm excited. I just it's such a good movie. That opening sequence with the references to the past movies, and to me, was solidified the start of this movie was just seeing the huge Spider-Man behind the Marvel logo. It was so beautiful, and let alone in a big screen and with Dolby audio surroundings and a nice leather couch share in the movie theater. It was so perfect. The start of the movie was excellent as well. Like the sequences, the sequences of the characters of all the characters interacting, like Spider-Man fighting all these minor villains and so on. Ramrod, Captain Boomerang. I think he fought Scorpion as well in there too. Tombstone. I will say, I have to put this out there. I don't know how to feel about Tombstone. Um, I wanted to like it more because I genuinely like Tombstone as a character, but I didn't know how to feel about the live action portrayal. I kind of liked the video game Tombstone more, even though that one's less comic book ish than this one. I don't know. I just when I saw the actor casted for it, I was like, all right, this is gonna work. And then when I saw it in the movie, then I just didn't vibe to it too much. Don't want to start off with the negatives. This is a really good movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm just gonna minor nitpick on a couple of little things throughout this let's talk. Um, but yes, the start was excellent. Spider-Man going on the rooftops and just like beating up villains and henchmen. The choreography was great. We have a new director, Destin Daniel Cretton, who also directed Shang-Chi, one of my favorite MCU movies as well, which in itself had a lot of references to little things like the martial arts movies as well within that movie, which again you can see the love and the respect to the character that he's directing in this movie as well, the same way that he did for Shang-Chi. And I'm just don't want to talk about Shang-Chi too much, but when he directed the way he directed Shang-Chi was like an ode to martial arts movies, and in a way like keeping with that concept, when he while directing the Spider-Man movie, there was clearly a lot of love and ode to the Spider-Man character and the comics, which is again we're going to talk about it throughout this whole movie, throughout this whole review. And I'm going to try and do my best not to just narrate the whole movie. And there's just things I want to talk about. That's why it's going to this video maybe so long, but yeah, I'm going to do my best to not just make it like, oh, this happened first and then this happened this and this happened then. I'm really doing my best not to do that. um I believe that Tom Holland said that a lot of those moves were also very much inspired by Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man, which yeah, it's very clearly it's the finisher moves, the fighting style, and I think because I did watch a couple of spoiler reviews after I watched the movie, just to see if I missed anything that makes sense, so I don't look like an idiot while talking in this video. And someone did point out, I think it was heavy spoilers. They did point out that Peter using his phone to locate crimes is very similar to the Insomniac Spider-Man game. Which yeah, just yeah, exactly. Like I didn't think about it, but yes, it does, and it fits the narrative. It doesn't sound made up. Uh, we were promised a more grounded Spider-Man movie, and I feel like they delivered very much with that. It's not about aliens. It's not about like Iron Man's helping him out. It's not about like the world is in danger kind of stuff. It's very much just New York City stuff. And yeah, no, like a good example of this is Spider-Man working with Officer Rivera. I really love that interaction. I really love how that chemistry between them, that very friendly chemistry, and it's cute how how he's going like, "Hey, I thought we were friends." And she's like, "You never asked. I don't know anything about you, and you don't even know my children's name." And both kids are listening in on the conversation that she's having with him, which is super cool and adorable. At the same time, Spider-Man going through his everyday life struggles and piggybacking off the No Way Home movie that he has chosen to not be involved with his former girlfriend and former best friend's life anymore, and just let them be, and give them a life without knowing Peter, and let alone knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And that in itself, people were super excited, and I don't want to say that I was happy that Spider-Man was going to be depressed, but like it was interesting, and it was going to be fun to see the struggling Spider-Man through Tom Holland's acting, which is something that a lot of fans wanted to see as well, because Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man went through it. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, to a certain degree, went through it as well, through a struggling, dark-sided Spider-Man. And Tom Holland pretty much had like a established role already when in his first movie. They had already established that he knew Iron Man, that he had the tech, that he had the suit. No Way Home, Far From Home, he had Edith as well, um, and um, No Way Home. Then he still had the tech, and now we're establishing that he let go of all that, and now he's making his own stuff. And I love the interaction with like his landlord, and asking like you guys, I can use this space, and then he's making like his little workshop basically. I love that. um I love his suit. um I didn't pay too much attention to it in the past, but I apparently in the first trilogy it was heavily CGI'd, which does make sense. And here it's very clearly a suit, Spider-Man suit, which again, when you watch this movie, you see the little wrinkles, and throughout the sequences you see how handmade this is, and I love that. It just, that little thing is just means so much, and that's so great. um John Bernthal's Punisher is amazing. It's still really super good. His interaction with Spider-Man in this movie is excellent. John Bernthal's is to Punisher what Hugh Jackman is to Wolverine, what Robert Downey Jr. is to Iron Man, what Ryan Reynolds is to Deadpool. Like, it's he is that character. What Charlie Cox is to Daredevil too. I have to put that out there too. Um, he is the character, and there was always this worry among some fans of like, how are you gonna put this very dark ass Punisher in this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, Disney Spider-Man movie? and they made it work very very well, especially after that last Punisher one shot special. Like, how are you gonna put these two characters in one movie? And they made it work. He doesn't feel like a watered down version. He feels like it feels like if Spider-Man was not there, he would have killed somebody. He would have shot somebody if he was given the opportunity, but Spider-Man is fast enough to stop him. um, Mark Ruffalo, Mark Ruffalo's character, obviously Hulk, Doctor Banner. Um, I've said this in my non-spoiler review. There were fan speculations that originally the Lizard was planned to be in the movie. Again, all fan speculation. It was never. I don't think that was ever confirmed by the actual director or the concept artist or nothing. But I feel like, yes, replacing Doctor Banner with Kurt Connors would have made a lot more sense in this universe. In this, I mean, as in if you wanted to do a Spider-Man movie, it would have made a lot more sense for it. However, for the story that they were going for, and for what they needed the Hulk to do, which led to the conflict of Spider-Man versus Hulk, I think it was important that Hulk was the one. It made more sense that Hulk would be the one powerful enough to try and invade damage control and break that area, that space open. It makes sense because I don't think the Lizard would be able to do that. However, aside from that sequence, I do feel like having Doc Connors in the movie would have been very interesting, and it would have been nice to establish him. And I would love to have seen a MCU version portrayal of the Lizard as well, because I've said this multiple times in videos or live streams that I've done that I do feel like we were robbed in the Amazing Spider-Man of the Dr. Connors Lizard's design. I didn't mind it as much. I just want a lab coat, man. I just want the Lizard with a lab coat and like the purple pants and the black shirt. I just want that. And I feel like the MCU could pull it off very well. That's why, like, not a nitpick or nothing, but it was like, oh man, what if? It was one of those what ifs. But other than that, Mark Ruffalo plays Dr. Banner excellent again, and he plays an important part, somewhat important part in this story, for Peter Parker's character, because it makes him question when Peter's going through all these things with these maturity, which I'll talk about in a bit. Doc Connor's there to question his reasons for wanting to control it, which is a whole other topic in itself about how if you start trying to control these genetics, you're basically creating a program that if somebody got their hold on it could control other people, so other superhumans and their powers. And would you really want to do that? And do you want to, in a way, do you want to play God? Do you want to choose who's allowed to use those powers or not? And because the moment you do that on yourself, you're creating a code for somebody that somebody else could possibly steal and use and adjust or mass produce. So, and I feel like going back to the fight of Hulk versus Spider-Man, which was excellent, an excellent fight. I loved it, and I will watch it again many times. His current Hulk form is scary, is great. However, I do feel that Hulk recognizing Peter Parker, I think that I feel like the MCU missed an opportunity by not establishing their dynamic character dynamic a little bit more. And obviously, Peter goes into his classroom in here, like in this movie, and they don't know each other. They clearly do not know each other. That's what weirded me out when, at the end, like he's I'm your friend, and the whole kind of just lets go. I feel like the MCU really missed out on not establishing a relationship between Peter Parker and Dr. Bruce Banner a lot more beforehand. Because if they had established it a little bit better, if they spent like a minute or two just having them interact, we could have gotten that comic book moment where Hulk goes berserk, and then and then he remembers Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and Spidey being like, "How do you know?" And he's like, "Well, Banner forgot, but Hulk didn't." Which I feel that would have been an excellent callback and an excellent reason for the fight to stop. But I don't know, like the ending of the fight was kind of weird to me. Um, the fight itself was great. Again, Punisher being like, "Yeah, no, I'm not fighting this." That was good. Um, and I feel again Mark Ruffalo was great. Michael Mando as the Scorpion, I found it great. He was fun. I feel like it's unfortunate that I don't want to use the word wasted, but I feel like it's very unfortunate that we couldn't get a little bit while talking about like a grounded Spider-Man movie, that we couldn't get like an actual Scorpion is the villain kind of thing. Like I would have loved like a more of like a chase sequence kind of movie where Spider-Man is, dealing with Scorpion, but at the same time kind of avoiding him because Scorpion is after him, or maybe the other way around. Maybe like Scorpion is trying to get to Spider-Man by targeting his loved ones. And I think Michael Mando would have played a great sociopath in that way, and maybe sticking a little bit more to the roots of like him getting his costume from J. Jonah Jameson, because J. Jonah Jameson would have gotten like tired of Spider-Man shit and just said like, "Come on, here's money, here's the costume, go get him." I'm also somewhat disappointed that we never got a Scorpion mask, because I do feel like Insomniac's Spider-Man had an excellent Scorpion costume, and I get it. Some of these characters and some of these actors want to show their face, and I do feel like having, especially after that first fight, because you have like the introduction fight between Spider-Man and Scorpion in that little opening sequence. Um, I think the second time they fought, it would have been interesting to have him wear a mask or like a helmet, and maybe make a little reference to Superior Spider-Man and say, "Well, I don't want you punching my jaw off," or something like that, because that would have been cool. Just a little Easter egg. Um, I wrote this in my notes too. I have to also point out that I absolutely love how Scorpion in this movie kind of uses his arms to kind of direct or move his tail, which is a cool little detail that was added to his fighting style as well. Like I think there was a point where before Spidey goes berserk, where Michael Mando is like using his arms to push the weight of his tail onto Spider Man, and that was very very cool. I found. Um, Speaking of going berserk, I love how we're establishing a more fully powered Spider-Man now. Like he was strong before already. Like he just took Bucky's arm like nothing. Bucky's punch like nothing, with one handed, mind you. And I love how we're establishing like a growth. I love this because of a couple of reasons. Excuse me, it's late here. I love this for a couple of reasons. I love this because they're establishing throughout the movie that Spidey, that Peter Parker is going through maturity right now, that he's growing. They do that in the little Keith David voiceover sequence where he's talking about like how the spider grows into its final form, kind of thing. Um, and it makes sense just also within the concept of the movie too, because we just got through high school and Peter is now in college, or is going through college, or just graduated from college. um I forgot because post No Way Home, I think he was going to apply to a college. Um, you don't get any school stuff here, other than Ned and Zendaya and MJ. But uh, this is like the transition of Peter Parker maturing now, and his powers are growing. And just like I said with the Keith David voiceover during the Spider documentary stuff that Peter was watching, it's establishing that he's growing, he's becoming something more. And the the Spider-Man's DNA, the Spider DNA is mixing, is amplifying not only as a human, he's growing, maturing, but also as a spider. And this means his powers increasing, and then you get the organic web fluid, which was interesting to do. Although I really like the manual web shooters a lot too. I loved, off topic, but I loved how he like shoots them out like the web cartridges and uses them as bombs, which is great because I love it. It's again more Insomniac Spider-Man stuff. I loved it. But yeah, organic web shooters, just like Sam Raimi's universe and comic book stuff. Don't get me wrong. And I know if there's been people who spoke about the possibility that this is a symbiote, and maybe it is. I would like it for it not to be. I personally, I'm on the side that I would love it if it's just him growing. That's it. That's the simplest fact. Maybe the director left it very open ended by blacking out his eyes and making hinting or creating the possibility that this could eventually tie into the symbiote, but at the same time, it's not, they didn't give enough details to confirm it. So if they want to, they can still choose not to do it. They can still choose to introduce the symbiote through other manners. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn that they retconned that in the Venom Last Dance movie. I could have sworn that they put away that symbiote that was left behind. I could be wrong. I recall seeing a scene of like, I forgot that movie. I completely forgot about that movie. But one of the officers like grabbing the supposedly symbiote that was left behind in the bar. I thought that was the case. I could be wrong. Maybe the symbiote is still in this MCU's universe. Um, I think I already spoke about the slow motion. I did not. I spoke about it in the spoiler video, but I said this in the non-spoiler version of this video that I do feel that the slow motion was just sometimes a little too much. Not enough to bother me. I generally do get bothered by overly done slow motion sequences in movies. I feel, and I've said this before too, I feel like slow motion should be applied during certain sequences to highlight certain specific moves or moments or important sequences. I don't think that should be applied every single time to every single fight, which is not done in this movie either. But it was been done noticeably more often in a lot of different sequences. And sure, you use it to show you a shot of like a comic book cover or something like that. I get it. I'm just usually not a huge fan of and it doesn't take away from my experience. Don't get me wrong. Um, but yeah, that's that's something I need to get out of the way. I already spoke about Tombstone, how I felt about him. Um, let's talk about Tom Holland and Zendaya. Let's talk about Peter Parker and MJ. I I was cautious about like what they were gonna do with them this type of the movie, because I wish they would have saved it for maybe like the second one or the third movie in this new trilogy. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more like a different love interest. A lot of people were hoping for Felicia Hardy to come in at some point, or Gwen Stacy, and I still agree that it would be nice to show that as well. Maybe we will get that. Maybe post Brand New Day, after we establish a new status quo in this universe and these relationships between them. Maybe Peter will fall for somebody, although it doesn't look like it right now. It looks like MJ really is the love of his life, but maybe we will establish a new relationship that kind of intertwines while he's trying to rebuild this new thing with MJ. Um, and at first, I will say that I wasn't too keen about the idea of bringing her back and making her again a lead character. Um, I still feel like we could have gone somewhere else with this story and with other relationships. I think that they should have established something more. Like they should have introduced a Harry Osborn. They should have introduced like maybe they had Cindy Moon in this movie already, which I completely forgot she was established in the MCU already. They had Cindy Moon. They could have established something alongside that, even though like they don't really in the comics they don't really interact until she gets her powers. Um, but there's other characters that could have been worked in. However, for where the movie goes and what they wanted to do, it worked. Like I did feel for them when with what they were doing, and the moment that Sadie Singh's character, which I will talk about later, does the bullshit and takes over her, like in my head I was like, you bitch. That's the first thing that ran through my mind when I realized what was going on. um and it was messed up. In my head, like again, I don't expect this video to get monetized or whatever, but in my head, I was like, man, that's fucked up. Um, and yeah, no, little off topic as well. I'm not sure if this was done on purpose or not, but in that sequence where MJ gets her mind taken over, and Peter's like upset and shocked as to what is happening. There's a moment where he's walking by these red lights, and the color grading on Peter's outfit really, really reminded me of Alex Ross's artwork, and I really love that for some reason. And I'm not sure if that wasn't done intentionally or not, but for a second I thought I was looking at Alex Ross draw in painting. So that was very cool. Um, Also, because I have the notes in regards to like the MJ and Peter stuff here. I love that after she I love that after she read the note, which worked like a Chekhov's gun in my opinion. Like you're establishing that Peter still had this note in the cup, and you're showing it throughout the movie little by little. You're reminding us that it's there, and I love the payoff of like him just forgetting that he brought it with him while she was there in Punisher's lair. Um, I love how we don't go back to like the hey, yeah, no, I love you, let's kiss and whatever. I love how she's like, and it's very realistic of like, I don't have any of those memories. I don't have those feelings for you because those feelings you you developed throughout the time, through experiences and through interactions, and she has none of those. So there's no way, or maybe there is, but there isn't at this moment. It doesn't seem like there's any way that she has any feelings for him. She could still develop them, but he'll have to rework them over again, which reminded me a little bit of the movie of 51st Dates, which I found with Adam Sandler, I believe, and Drew Barrymore, which is a very cute concept. Like that's the idea of somebody forgetting something every day. I think I believe that's the concept, and the guy working to make that girl fall in love again every single time. And I think that's a really cute concept, and I think that was a very cool direction to take their relationship. Um, and it's always super fun and great to see that she kind of, even though like she's weirded out by this whole thing and finding out about this through the letter, that she's like, "Hey, you want to come upstairs and see Ned?" That was very very cool, and their interaction, Ned and Peter's interaction, was again super great. Um, I also do want to say that it makes sense that she would put these things together as well. Like, well, through the letter, she was like, "No, it makes sense that that you would have been that you were there all these times, all these moments. I know that that it was somebody who was coincidentally always saving us, Ned and I, and it must have been someone in our group. So it's cool that gets in there. Um, Also, the boyfriend. Did we ever? I don't recall, but like, and I looked it up online, but I don't think we ever get a name for him. And I want it to be Paul, cause fuck Paul. um, um, I really wanted to be him, and I wish we would have got the name because I can't imagine the memes we would come out of that if his name was established. But I think online is just credited as the boyfriend. So yeah, no, fuck Paul. Another thing I want to talk about is like I'm not upset that Daredevil is not in the movie after watching this movie because it makes sense. I think a lot of us thought that they were in a prison cell and the hand was there, so it made sense that Daredevil would be too. But within the context of the movie, I think it makes sense that Daredevil wouldn't be there now. Now, after giving the movie a try, it's okay to say that Daredevil's not there. Um, and would have been nice. Yes, I still want a grounded Daredevil X Spider-Man movie. Like not even just a sequence. I want a whole movie of that. Give us the Daredevil X Spider-Man crossover, assholes. I'll take a Deadpool X Spider-Man crossover too, or a Wolverine X Spider-Man too. But if it's Wolverine X Spider-Man, it has to be Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire. Um, I will say also that if you like the Sam Raimi movies, which is maybe a not so popular take or what I'm about to say, or but if you like the Sam Raimi movies, if you liked the style or the direction or the themes of those movies, I think that this comes a little closer to that compared to the previous trilogy of the Tom Holland movies. I feel like the jokes felt better in this movie as well. Like they were subtle, not subtle, but they were jokes, but they were not all in your face or kind of just put out there all the time. Like I think the jokes landed at the right times when they were needed, and and I brought up Sam Raimi's movies because those movies really did feel like they were more character driven movies, with action sequences and superhero moments, which is also comic book. It's what comic books is about a lot of times. There's a lot of finding a lot of weird, crazy shit going on, and cool fight sequences and shocking moments. But there's also character arcs. And Sam Raimi, I think, did a wonderful job throughout his trilogies, even with like the Sandman character in his third one, which is another conversation to have about how he originally meant for Sandman to be the only villain in that movie. Um, that's why he was so well written, but um, but this movie definitely felt like it was more established for the relationships between Spider-Man, MJ, and and Spider-Man asking himself, Peter Parker asking himself, "What am I? Am I mainly Spider-Man? Am I mainly Peter? Like, can I be both?" That, and while dealing with the maturity and his anger and his and like the moment he saw like the moment Peter saw MJ with the boyfriend and his emotions just overwhelmed and just dealing with all this pressure coming from everywhere, and then with the villain of this movie, which added paranoia to the character was great. And for a movie that has so much going on, and somebody else, I think it was the Cosmonaut Variety Hour who spoke about this, for a movie that has, and I agree with him by the way on this, for a movie that has so much going on, because it's, as much as I want to say like I love this more grounded Spider-Man movie, it still has a lot going on. It doesn't feel overwhelming, and it doesn't kill the vibe. It doesn't kill the aesthetic. It still feels very grounded, even though it's so much going on, which is interesting and crazy and great that they were able to put Hulk, Jean Grey, which we'll talk about in a bit, Punisher, Scorpion, like all the minor villains like Boomerang, Tombstone, and just introducing all of them. Like it's crazy how they could make this movie work so well still, and like kind of connect the sequences which led to the climax. And Damage Control too, like, it was a big part of the movie. I haven't spoken too much about Damage Control because it was like the hidden villain that you kind of expected, and they've been establishing Damage Controls as assholes in the MCU for a while already, since the first Spider-Man movie. And by that I mean the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. So there's not much I want to say too much about it, because Damage Control links more to Sadie Sink's character, which is what I want to talk about now. Now, I didn't talk about Jean Grey too much in this video up until now, because I wanted to save a special part of this review, of this Let's Talk, dedicated to her. When they were spoilers about like, hey, this is potentially Jean Grey, like Sadie Sink's character is potentially Jean Grey, I didn't know how to feel about it at first, because I was excited, mind you. Like, we want to see like the new rebooted MCU X-Men. That's gonna be cool. But at the same time, like, how are they gonna work this into this movie? We were hearing that this character, this villain in the hoodie, Sadie Sink's character, was going to have all these telepathic powers, and people were already making conclusions like, oh, it's Shatra, or like it's Typhoid Mary, I believe. So like there were already people saying like, it shouldn't be. Why would they introduce an X-Men in a Spider-Man movie? And there's reasons why I feel like it would make sense, which I'm gonna go into in a second. But I'm very happy how well it worked, how it makes sense for her arc and his arc to kind of come together, for Peter's arc and her and Jean Grey's arc to kind of come together, because we're establishing that this MCU, this Marvel Cinematic Universe, is kind of inspired or based off the Ultimate Universe, which was which had a very controversial ending. And basing off the fact that this is established of the Ultimates universe, it makes sense that you would have a young Jean Grey interacting with a young Peter Parker. It makes sense that her backstory would be a little dark. To what happened to her is messed up. It also, in a way, references I believe X-Men 3, like the original. Yeah, well, not original. There was only one group of movies, but it also references X-Men 3 a little bit, when you establish that she was a little kid with all these powers, and Professor Xavier helps her, adopts her, takes her away, and you establish that she had all this tremendous, scary power already, and to establish that her as a villain in this movie, it's very interesting, I want to say, because one, you can lead into in the future if they want to do this for that, like the third time. You can lead this or connect this to the Phoenix Force eventually if they want to, and establish like she had this darkness inside of her already. But at the same time, by establishing that she's just a child and she is somewhat gullible as well, based on what we'll talk about in a second too, she doesn't know how to deal with what she has going on. So, um, with somebody with like powers like her, like the she can feel like she's in control, and her anger, she can use it and abuse it without repercussions. So her character makes sense for her losing her sister and looking for her. And I think with everything that Peter Parker goes throughout this movie, and like this whole double life, and trying to fight this anger himself, this feeling of this arachnic evolution, it makes sense that somebody like him could relate to what she's going to, but find himself in a place where he's somewhat more in peace with how he should deal with these feelings and with this his situation. I hope I'm making sense with what I'm saying. Um, it makes sense that he could be like it could lead into. I'm not saying that he's the one that changes her mind completely, but it's easy. He could lead her into like a better direction, because that is also what Spider-Man does. What Peter Parker does, he inspires, and people see the good in him and acknowledge the good in him. And he's probably, I believe, established in the comics as to be one of the most pure-hearted characters in or heroes in the Marvel comic books series. Period. In borderline every universe. Um, this is why I think it works so well, and that way, when you do establish the X-Men in the MCU, you already have her established with a little bit more of like that Jean and Grey that we kind of already know, like a more humble mentality, maybe, if that's what they go for. Um, and for her to constantly reading people's minds without their permission, without their consent, to the point where uh, we get the final sequence where she can't really read into Spider-Man's and get into Spider-Man's head because of a block because of his powers, uh, and for him at the end to be like, "Yeah, come, you want to see what's in my head? Go. I welcome you to do so." So it's the first time that I think it's probably one of the first times that somebody's allowing her, inviting her into their mind, which is very Spider-Man-ish. And the Aunt May being like the emotional anchor as to why she changes her mind is beautiful in my opinion. I think it's great how basically the talk that she had, quote unquote, in his head with Aunt May is the talk she would have loved to have had with her mother, who abandoned her and her sister. Like the talk that she needed to hear, and it wasn't Peter Parker being like, "You should change," and she's like, "Okay, I'll change." No, it's Aunt May. His reason for being who he is her reason. It helps her understand why he's like that and why she shouldn't be an evil person. I found that very, very beautiful. And when Peter in his head sits next to her and talks to her, it's beautiful, and also I found this very interesting as well. I use this word a lot too, but I found it very interesting that it almost felt like passing of the torch as well, because we already know that X-Men is going to be like this big sequence in the MCU for the next phase, and and sorry, I got distracted. I heard of noise. So the X-Men is going to be like this big sequence in the MCU in the next phase, and Peter has just went through like one, two, three phases already of the MCU. Two phases, right? Yeah, two, three phases of the MCU, and he's getting older. Like our Tom Holland is getting a little older, so he's like welcoming the new generation in a way too. At least like he's establishing them as he's leading he's leading the next wave of what's going to happen, and I love that because Spider-Man was supposed to be like this big thing too when he finally got introduced into the MCU. I will never forget. I think I have screenshots, like my like window screenshots of the day or the moment that Spider-Man got announced to be in the MCU, because I was so excited. And they like Sony collaborated with Marvel for the rights to make a Spider-Man movie together. I think I was super stoked. It was a huge deal, and I think, and right now having the X-Men in the MCU officially is going to be this big thing as well, and it's beautiful that Tom Holland's Spider-Man gets to kind of lead us a little bit in that direction as well. Even though we established mutants already with Miss Marvel and with Namor being in Black Panther 2, even though we are kind of established already that there are mutants out there, it's nice to have the mutants that the people were the most yearning for be introduced through him in this movie. Um, yeah, this is why I wanted to have a separate segment for Jean Grey in this talk. I will also say that it is tragic, and it is so well put together. The the plot twist of VMAX, and I really liked it. How she's like looking for this she's like looking for this she's looking for this word VMAX, and Peter's like trying to find out what VMAX is too, and then you just get that reveal, man, at the end of like they ran a huge test on her sister that killed her in the last, and it basically elevated her telepath radius to the point where Jean Grey was able to pick up on it, and the last thing that she saw was VMAX, and it was just the last thing that she saw was a ventilator while looking up before she died, which is very messed up, and I could see that why that would break her too. It was so good in a sad way. It was really good and like well put together. You get what I mean. Last thing I want to talk about, the very last thing I want to talk about, because I have to head to bed. It's late as fuck. I genuinely love and I spoke about this already a little bit, but I love the aesthetic of the Ultimate Universe that is felt in this movie as well. It feels very Ultimates, like the first series of Ultimates, not the new one. There was a moment in the movie, you watched the movie, so you're watching this video. So when Spidey gets shot, first of all, the most Spider-Man thing to do. The whole time I'm thinking in my head, it's like I've seen this before. And minor spoiler if you haven't read the Ultimates comics, but Spidey jumps in front of a bullet for Cap at some point, and which leads to this this very important sequence, which I'm not going to talk about. But long story short, Cap and Punisher are beefing. I think there was a civil war going on or something, and Punisher's ready to shoot Cap, which again you can tell this is the Ultimate Universe because in the mainline universe, Punisher would not never done this. But Punisher aims at Cap, shoots him. Spider-Man sees it. He jumps in front of the bullet and gets shot. Um, and that's where I'm like, oh wow, because that actually leads to one of my favorite stories in the Ultimate Universe of Spider-Man. Him getting shot, because so that starts a domino effect of a bunch of things that happen afterwards. And I started getting emotional because that is a very emotional story for me and for a lot of people. I have the book behind me, like the Ultimates XYZ Spider-Man. I'm not gonna say the title. There's a video out there. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not. You can look up on Google if you really want to know, like when does Spider-Man get shot in the Ultimate Universe. Um, but and I found this out as well through watching other YouTube creators about this brand new day, that the reference also of the main comic book universe, Civil War, where Punisher finds the Iron Spider beaten up in the sewers and picks him up, is carrying him. That gets referenced to in this movie, where after he gets shot and after Jean Grey is like holding him back from dying, and Punisher brings him to the hospital carrying him. That shot is there, and I love that shot so much. I didn't realize it while watching the movie. Shame on me. I love Civil War, but yeah, it was super cool to see that too. Also, seeing Frank getting emotional and establishing that friendship between the two of them was very, very cool and nice as well, because they would get along. And Frank saying that is such a normal thing for you to do, like I've seen a lot of brave men, like for you to take a bullet like that. um geez, I'm getting a little emotional right now just thinking about it. It also goes back to like the Ultimate Universe, where actually, without spoiling much again, Cap comments on that, on how brave it is for a young kid to do something like that, to to purposely take a sniper bullet to save somebody else is heroic as fuck. Um, so yeah, aside from that, I think I forgot to talk about this, but I feel like I should. Um, just go into it real quick. Seeing Yelena in the movie was interesting. I didn't expect that either. I don't recall seeing that she was going to be in the movie or not, but seeing her appear, I wanted to talk about this in the beginning of the video, but I forgot. But it is important for me to establish that it was interesting, because I still can't get used to the new Avengers. I still see them as Thunderbolts, so seeing her being like this kind of lead, it's weird and interesting to me. But she kills her scenes always. Like Florence Pugh, she always kills her scenes, so she was welcome in the movie too. It was fun to see her interact with Peter and then with MJ and Ed as well. So, but yeah, there goes an hour of my life recording this. I have to go to bed because I have to work early in the morning. But yeah, if please let me know what you thought about this movie. Like, tell me if you liked it. Tell me what your thoughts are on this movie. Uh, Comment down below on your favorite scenes, favorite moments. If you have any complaints about the movie, I'm curious to read them. I won't say I will agree with them. For me, if I do have to give this movie a score overall, it's a solid 9.5 out of 10 for me. And this is coming from a Spider-Man fanboy, and I can't even show you my shelf over there of just Spider-Man figures and also and a lot of other stuff. And I have like the Miles Morales one over here too. Like, I've been a long time Spider-Man fan since I was as long as I remember. I was 5 years old. I'm 35 now. For the past 30 years, I've been a big Spider-Man fan, and that's why I'm giving this movie such a high score. Subscribe, like. I promise not all my videos are this long, but I just needed to talk about this movie the way I did. Um, if the likes, the comments, the subscribes would be highly appreciated. Helps my channel grow. And otherwise, I will be seeing you guys next time. Do follow me on Twitch as well if you'd like to. I'll put the links in the comments down below. I have been playing Insomniac Spider-Man in my channel. Trying to do the side missions on my time off from streaming, but the main missions in the live streams. And eventually I hope to get to Spider-Man 2, which I've never touched just because of time restraints and work. But I'm trying to stay dedicated so I can build up towards that. I'm Caesar Plays. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day or night, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you and bye.